Well, good morning, West Ham fans. So, Lucas Paqueta has come out fighting about all those leaks. A very good Friday morning to you. We've done another week, my friends, and it's almost a weekend. So a trip to for a cup final, isn't it? To 3 Point Lane. I mean White Hart Lane. At lunchtime kickoff tomorrow. We'll obviously be having the watch long and the review show afterwards. And at lunchtime today, we'll do the lunchtime live. Have your say in terms of getting ready for it and getting your views. And Alex did a live with a Spurs fan on the Extra channel yesterday, so go check that out. And we may even have Irish Tommy with the late show tonight. Who knows? But keep on the channel. Make sure you hit the bell notifications so you may be aware of any time we put new content on. But I want to talk about Lucas Paqueta. As you can see by the title, he's broken his silence in terms of the allegations, mainly in terms of the leaking of information, as he believes it can have a negative impact. Around 4 o'clock yesterday, across all his socials, he put out a statement, which is obviously a very carefully worded statement, which we'll go through verbatimly in a minute. But in essence, it was a suggestion that the leaking of false information could have a negative impact on his case, which could effectively ruin his career. But so it's basically saying you're spreading rumours which aren't true, and that could have a negative impact. Proven innocent until proven guilty. Basically, I mean, earlier this month, the Sun reported the FA were looking to bring in 2 new charges against him for non-cooperation breaches, and also accusing him of obstructing the investigation. But Paqueta has now responded to reports of a statement slamming the alleged leakers of information who are apparently close to the case. This is what he actually said on X, Twitter, social media stuff, the FaceTube and the U-Book. He said, let me take that one out. I'm frustrated and upset to have read recent misleading and inaccurate press articles published in both England and Brazil claiming to disclose information about my case. Some of that information is entirely false and appears designed to undermine my position. I'm also concerned that although they are false and misleading, these articles are clearly sourced from an individual close to the case. The FA proceedings are supposed to be confidential, and they are extremely serious for me and my family. The continued leaking and publication of inaccurate information in the press is now putting at risk my chance of receiving a fair hearing. I have therefore instructed my lawyers to write to the FA to request that they conduct a thorough investigation into how information about the case, even if inaccurate, is finding its way into the public domain. So very, very much going on the offensive, really. Sort of saying, regardless of what happens, I haven't been given a fair trial. Almost alluding to, if I am sort of found guilty, we're coming after you. That's, to me, it's almost like he's not necessarily. It's very passive aggressive, isn't it? And I like it. He's had he's had lots of shit from, as you said, the Brazilian press. He's had senators and stuff like that in Parliament in Brazil. He's also had a lot of shit from the media blaming him already. We are in a democracy where you are, innocent until proven guilty. The fact is, it's taken the FA so long to get this that, it's almost like embarrassing themselves, because the whole thing around the phone and stuff like that. I think there's going to be some. I think it's been really interesting. I think it was back in August last year that the sort of betting probe saga started, which obviously curtailed his move to Man City. And it's believed around 60 people in Brazil are said to have wagered between £7 and £400 in booking relevant games, with a total winnings of £100,000. He's reported to obviously face a hearing in March, and it's believed the FA are thought to be pushing hard for a lifetime ban from football should he be found guilty of the charges against him, which I think has affected his current form for sure. He struggled this season. Julian Lopetegui himself has insisted that despite not discussing the issue with Paqueta, the player is handling his looming legal troubles very well. And he was saying we're trying to help him to be better and better. He's a very important person. He's working very hard. He's trying to understand what we want. I'm happy with his behaviour and his commitment. But this statement to me is a real call to arms, really, in terms of how, as I said, it's almost like he's setting his stall out for if it is a negative reaction in terms of if he doesn't get acquitted of the charges. Saying even if he gets acquitted, he's basically saying there's going to be an appeal because there's some sort of leak of information, which is true. We've had situations before. We know that the press knew before the FA announced, like Everton got points deductions twice. I think it was David Ornstein sort of announced it. So he must have had leaks from someone. He wouldn't just come up with it and just miraculously assume Everton were going to get points deductions. So it's I find it fascinating. I find the whole case fascinating, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Also, we spoke about yesterday the hearing, his summons to a hearing in Brazil. Again, there's confusion around whether he has to attend, in person, whether he can attend by radio, by radio link, by Zoom call, as it is so close, particularly to the Leicester game at the beginning of November. So we'll see what happens. But it's interesting to see. He's been keeping relatively quiet in terms of the new allegations and things like that. So for him to put this quite carefully it's obviously a very carefully worded statement. It's something that's obviously been issued by his lawyers or his legal team. And we'll see what the response is. I'm sure there will have to be a statement from the FA in terms of the next course of action, because it isn't on, and it's a serious allegation. It's a serious thing which could, impact his career, his life, his livelihood. And if he generally hasn't had any impact himself or hasn't been involved, then he should, he shouldn't be lambasted for it. He's actually going on the Brazilian hearing, I think, with his uncle. His uncle is one of the ones who apparently has benefited from this spot betting allegation. So again, we don't know, do we? We genuinely don't know. We can assume either way. But I think the club have stood by him all the time. There was accusations that they're walking away there, but they haven't. They're very much still working with him, and obviously, but he has his own legal team, and then West Ham will have their own legal team, and they're two separate entities. But we'll keep an eye. This saga will carry on well into March, and quite possibly past March as well, I would imagine. And that's it, my friends. Hope you have a lovely Friday morning. I'll be back at lunchtime with the Lunchtime Live. And then Hammers Headlines, and maybe, as I said, Late Late Show with Irish Tommy potentially tonight as well. And then we start all the fun of the fair, which is Spurs v West Ham, 12:30 kickoff at 3 Point Lane on TNT Sports. Keep an eye on that. We might see people on there as well. I always watch it when I watch the away games, see if I can spot people in the crowd as well. But we'll have to watch along with that with Anton himself. Tag teaming, and then the review show afterwards. Till then, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, my friends, and come on, you bloody irons. Irons.